The number of drug overdose deaths in Lexington continues to rise. Now, city leaders are trying to make sure awareness about the epidemic is keeping pace with the problem. Members of the Lexington Forum held a discussion about the heroin epidemic. They say the purpose is to raise awareness to Lexington influencers about the scale of the drug epidemic. There were 134 overdose deaths in 2015 in the city alone. And by the beginning of November 2016, the city had already hit that same number.
Especially in a group like this, you're talking about policymakers, people who have influence and have so little understanding. And I don't hold it against them, I guess why should they? But it just speaks to the fact that everyone needs to educate themselves.
And to help us break down the news, Alex Elswick, the man you just saw in that video, joins us now. Alex, an honor to see you. We've known you for 3 years and watched you grow through this process. What is it like to continue to tell this message over and over again? You told me at the time you've done it at least 50 times, right?
That's right. I think the message is gaining traction. I think changing hearts and minds is a slow process. Certainly this community is becoming aware that the opioid crisis in central Kentucky is epidemic. I think people are coming around to the fact that addiction is a chronic brain disease. And organizations like ours at Voices of Hope are working to convey the message that recovery is possible. Recovery can happen, recovery does happen, but in order for recovery to happen, people need access to resources that enable them to sustain their recovery.
And as someone who's been following this drug epidemic, it was shocking to us when we showed up at that forum to hear some of the basic questions and lack of understanding of how far you've come in this recovery and where you want people to be forward thinking and not thinking about the actual addiction anymore, right?
That's right. And I think we did have some of that, but I'm not sure how pervasive it was, because I did have some of those influential community leaders approach me afterwards to tell me about their loved ones who are either in active addiction or in recovery. And I think it speaks to kind of something we've talked about before, that addiction doesn't discriminate.
And also why you're such a good poster child, I hate to use that term, so to speak, for this, because you come from an influential family and a well-to-do neighborhood, and it can happen to anyone.
That's right. It doesn't matter what color you are, what gender you are, what kind of car you drive, or the square footage of your home. Nothing can insulate you from addiction. But the good news is, on the other side of the coin, that recovery is possible for everyone too.
And I thought it was interesting, you also brought up when we talked to you about there's a lot of research that's going into actual addiction right now, but the real focus needs to be moving toward recovery and how to keep people in recovery. Talk a little bit about your message and your goals moving forward with that.
That's right. So I've had the opportunity to do some research on these recovery resources that I've alluded to, and it's been really exciting. A number of these forums and panels that I've participated on, that you've attended, has made it clear that Central Kentucky's approach to the opioid crisis is sort of three-pronged. It's treatment, law enforcement, and prevention. And I think all three of those are essential components, but it's lacking the fourth essential component, which is recovery. Inpatient treatment, for example, is the initiation of recovery. It's the first step of a very long journey, and so we need to be directing more research and more resources into what are the resources that people need to sustain their recovery.
Because we've proven that the 30-day treatments just don't cut it anymore at this point.
It's insufficient.
It's insufficient, yes. Well, it's such a pleasure to see you and see you doing so well and making such a difference in the community. I got multiple calls today, excited to have you on, so it's a pleasure. And isn't he adorable, Sam? Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Great job. Thanks so much. And if you want to join in on the conversation, first watch our full story on WKYT.com and click on that story, watch it, and then let us know what you think. Thanks so much, Alex.